You're going to showboat, knock down the shot.
For what his value is, it doesn't equate to winning basketball.
When you're talking about the greatest of greats, that's what you have to do. You have to nitpick.
We'll see you in the playoffs. We'll see you in the playoffs.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Tee 'em Up podcast. I'm Jace Eustace, joined, as always, by Jarrett Huff. Jarrett, your Bulls came back and tied it up 1-1 in the series. I know we're going to talk about it here in a little bit, but how are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great. We got the Derrick Rose jerseys rocking today. It's Chicago Bulls everything. I'm freaking happy. My hot take landed. I told you all that the Bulls would win one game.
Yeah.
But I'll dive into it a little more once we get to the Bulls, but I'm feeling pretty great about all things just going on in Chicago right now.
Yeah, we'll see if it's just going to be one game or we'll see if they get a little bit more and make this a really close series. But we'll touch on that here in a little bit. We want to start off, and we're just going to get into it and just start breaking down these, playoff matchups that have started. Most games or most series are 2 games in. I know the Philadelphia 76ers and the Toronto Raptors are 3 games in, but I think other than that, at the time of recording, everything is 2 games in. So we're going to start in the Eastern Conference, and we might as well just start at the top of the conference with Miami versus the Atlanta Hawks. So Miami's up 2-0. They won the first game 15-91. They won the second game 115-105. So Jarrett, what do you think of how this series has played out? Exactly how you predicted?
Just about. Your Miami Heat are playing a great series. I mean, I have to say, whether Trae Young's dropping 8 points or he's dropping 20, they're making sure something's going wrong for him. In the day where he had a much better game in game 2 offensively, we see Trae Young with 10 turnovers, which for the Hawks, if they want a chance, cannot happen. We see in game 1, they hold him to 8 points, 1 field goal.
1 for 12.
That's supposed to be the Hawks' only hope. This team, as I've said in the past, it lives and dies by Trae Young, and it's dying right now. The Miami Heat are rolling. That bird is almost cooked. I'm predicting this series is going to end in a sweep.
Oh, wow.
The Miami Heat. I don't think the Hawks can bounce back. We're seeing Jimmy Bubble Butler right now. He had 40 the other night. I'm sorry, was it 45?
45, yep.
Jimmy Butler looks like the player that Jimmy Butler should be. And that is exactly what the Miami Heat needs. I love it. I'm so happy for Jimmy. And I guess I'm happy for you too, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah, man. In game 1, it was surprising. Duncan Robinson really came out of nowhere off the bench, 27 points off the bench. Butler was good in that game, 21 points. He didn't explode, but he did what he needed to do. But in that game 1, what I like to see about Miami is they didn't rely on their guys to really perform that well. Bam had 6 points. Kyle Lowry had 10. Tyler Hero had 6 points in that game, and they won by almost 20. They won by over 20. And that's just what I was talking about before this series. They can win in so many different ways on any given night. They don't need Butler to score 45. They don't need Bam Adebayo to be Defensive Player of the Year, which I'm still mad that he was snubbed from not even being a finalist. He should have been a finalist.
Didn't play enough games.
I'm okay with where it went, but I still think he should have been rewarded as a finalist. But like you said, held Trae Young to 8 points, 1 of 12 shooting. He was 0 for 7 from the 3-point line. And for Trae Young, that's unprecedented numbers. Obviously, in game 2 was the Jimmy Butler game, 45 points, 5-5. Bam, again, 9 points. He's yet to score double-digit points in the series. But what I love about Bam is he can take over a game from the paint if need be. But when the other guys on the perimeter are lighting it up, he's more than happy to step back, get the offensive boards, get second possessions. That's just what he does. Lowry in game 2 also only had 9 points. Game 2, Trae Young, 10 of 20 shooting. Better, but not good. He was 2 for 10 from the 3-point line. And it wasn't said on this podcast, but those that are out there following a lot of NBA media, listening to a lot of NBA podcasts, there was a lot of Trae Young is the best player in this series talk. And I just want to address that. It wasn't said on this. It was not said on this podcast.
Did not come out of my mouth.
And I like Trae Young. I really like Trae Young. I think throughout the NBA media, he is undervalued. You're on the different side of the fence, but
do not like him.
That's okay. Trae Young is not the best player in this series, and that was shown there in game 2. He can win in so many different ways. And I have held off on this as a Miami fan because I try to, when I give my picks and to kind of give my predictions, think with my head and not with my heart, because that's what I feel like I need to do. I can cheer for a team. I can be a fan of my team. and we'll touch on some of these things later, but with injuries and with what I'm seeing in other series that we'll touch on next, I'm ready to say it. Miami is the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. I I'm ready to say it. I've been saying that they've been undervalued. They're the number 1 seed, but right now where we currently sit, if you want to get to the NBA Finals out of the Eastern Conference, you have to go through Miami. That is the team to beat as we sit right now.
I mean, it definitely helps that you are sitting in the first seeds.
Oh yeah,
Technically, you are the team
because they earned it.
to go through. Um, it. I see a lot of teams are kind of on the Heat. The Heat are definitely up there. They're definitely a legitimate contender for the finals this year. I don't. I need to see more of this first round before I pick a favorite. Going forward, coming into this, I think I would have sided with my favorite either being like the Brooklyn Nets or the Philadelphia 76ers. But so many teams look great. I mean, Nets, it's kind of been rough, but the Heat are definitely up there.
Yeah. And speaking of your Nets, let's move on here to our second series. That's Boston Celtics against the Brooklyn Nets. So I believe, if I remember correctly, you picked Brooklyn Nets in 7. I picked Boston Celtics in 7. So game 1, Celtics won 115 to 114. In game 2, the Boston Celtics won 114 to 107. So you picked Brooklyn in 7. Brooklyn's currently down 0-2. How are you feeling about this series, and how has it played out so far?
I'm not too concerned because if you look at both these games, it could just as easily be 2-0 in Brooklyn's favor. Think about it. Jason Tatum makes a last-second layup to win the game, where right before that, the Celtics got a quick, easy bucket to make it a 1-point game. Just as easily could have been if the Nets put in the effort for whatever reason, made a defensive stop. It's still a 3-point game. And if KD makes a better shot on the other end, which Horford, to his credit, played amazing defense that basically just shut KD down and he couldn't do anything there. But not to take away from what Jason Tatum did, but I'm just saying I'm not worried because, again, the series could easily be 1-1 or 2-0 in Brooklyn's favor. You look at the second game, Brooklyn led almost the entire way. Now, the second half, they definitely didn't have the momentum, even though they led up until I think like the final 4 or 5 minutes of that game. But then the Celtics just took over and Kevin Durant was terrible. I don't expect to see KD have 3 bad games in a row. So I'm thinking we're going to see an improved KD because let's face it, KD is the best player in the NBA. There's no way he's going out like this.
Okay. I don't think anybody expected him to have 2 bad games in a row, but this is where we're sitting at right now. And, Jason Tatum obviously hit that spinning game winner. Good for him. He was not great in game 1. He hasn't been great in either of these games. Jason Tatum has, and they've pulled out wins. Celtics rallied from down 17 in game 2. All the Celtics starters scored in double digits. And let's just be frank with it. KD was bad. 4 for 17 shooting, only 1 for 2 from the 3-point line in game 2. In game 1, he was 9 for 24 shooting, 1 for 5 from 3. So let's give credit to the Celtics defense. But to me, the biggest story is how bad KD has looked. And he's giving the ball up. Like he's not at this point so far in the series been a reliable ball handler. He's got just as many turnovers, I believe, as made field goals in this series. He's missing his jump shots. He looks like he's hearing footsteps on defense, where even when he's got open shots, it's almost like he just imagines someone's coming up behind him or someone's about to show up out of nowhere to contest the shot. KD and Kyrie definitely collapsed in the fourth quarter of game 2, plain and simple. KD was 0 for 10 in the fourth quarter with 4 turnovers. And the way that I look at this series, yeah, you can make that argument that it should be the other way, or it could be the other way. It could be 1-1. It could be 2-0 in Brooklyn's favor, but it's not. And the reason I believe it's not is because the Celtics have a legitimate team and they play as a team and not just, hey, KD, go win it. Kyrie was great in game 1. They still lost. And another reason, and I said this when I gave my take, I felt Boston was going to win because of coaching. And I feel like so far, up 2-0, a huge part of that has been coaching, and that leans towards the Boston Celtics side. That's just the way I see this going. And now, obviously, we're going to return to Brooklyn. Looks like we're going to see Ben Simmons come back in game 4 is what we're hearing as of now. So, but who knows if they're down 0-3? I mean, you're probably not bringing them back for game 4. They might just be too late at that point. So I don't know, man. This is going downhill fast for the Nets. Obviously, they held the lead a lot in game two, but they couldn't hold off the Celtics. And the Celtics, they're not scared of Brooklyn. They're not scared. They are not flinching. They are not. So I don't know, man. Your pick's looking worse and worse by the day.
I'm so confident though. I honestly think the Nets are going to take these two games at home.
Okay.
Boston won't have its crowd to feed off of. The Nets won't have to deal with Boston's crowd. Kyrie can focus more on the game than what people are saying behind him, which I have to say, from what I've seen on social media and just what I can imagine some of those Celtics fans on the sidelines have been saying because they're Boston sports fans. Yeah. I think some of what Kyrie's dishing back is warranted. I don't completely agree with it, but I'm not going to knock Kyrie. I'm not going to do that because I can't blame the guy, honestly.
Yeah, and sorry. I just wanted to touch on real quick on what you said about the home court advantage. Are we sure they're not still going to have a home court advantage? New York or Brooklyn's not too far from Boston. We know the amount of Boston Celtics fans there are, and how many Nets fans are there out there that are going to go to the game? Like, I think it might be 50-50.
Well,
to be honest with you,
I'm going to shoot some shots at New Yorkers. I imagine there will be some Knicks fans wearing black.
Yeah, possibly.
I still
don't
think
have 50-50.
It very well could be, but I'm just saying New York Knicks fans have nothing better to do. Maybe watch baseball. I don't know. But if they want to see some hoops, they'll be throwing on some black because I definitely know they won't be throwing on green. But yeah, like you said, the Celtics defense has definitely legitimized this team. I wasn't a huge believer in them coming into the playoffs, but I'm starting to change my tune a little bit. I still think Brooklyn is going to win this series because, like I said, even though they haven't been great, I'm not betting against Kevin Durant. I refuse to.
Well, I am so far, and I'm winning on that bet as of so far. So let's move on to the third series in the East, one I'm sure you'd love to talk about, and that's the Bucks against the Bulls. So game one, the Bucks took that low-scoring game 93-86, but the Bulls came back in game two, took that win 114-110. So, Jarrett, how are you feeling 1-1 here with the Bulls? You predicted that they would take one game. Here we are. Still a long series to go.
So after game one, I actually felt pretty good, believe it or not, because let's be honest, the way that game started, I thought it was going to be a blowout. I'm like, oh, here we go. We're going to be the Pelicans are probably going to outdo us in terms of just like, we're going to look like the worst team in the entire playoffs. That's great. No, we fought and clawed our way back. We went toe to toe and we actually took a 5-point lead late into the fourth. And I'm like, oh my God, the Bulls are in this game. Now, a few things went Giannis's way in terms of calls because he's a superstar and somehow turned an over the back foul into a foul on the player that had over the back, which I could almost throw that in my tee 'em up. I won't, but that was what I was thinking. I'm like, okay, we're gonna tee up the whole freaking the ref that called that because it's ridiculous. And they didn't put it in the after game report either.
Yeah.
So they doubled down on that and said, oh yeah, no problem with that, even though it was egregious. Whatever. I let it go. I wasn't too mad because I'm like, I'm not expecting much from this series. It's the Bucks at home, and we made it a close one. They had to sweat to win the game.
Oh, yeah.
Game two, we punch them in the mouth with a 9-0 start. We lead a large chunk of the game. We go up 18 at one point. They claw their way back. We go back up 16, and they claw their way back. It's a nail biter. But DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, and Alex Caruso held it down for the team. Vucevic was great, giving DeRozan screens to get around, get some easy mid-range jumpers. And when DeRozan would pass the ball, Vuce would get an easy 2-point shot. He had 25. He looked great. DeMar DeRozan said he wouldn't go 6 for 25 again, had 41 points, and he kept his promise. He looked like the superstar we've been watching all season. This Bulls defense looked like the defense we thought we've had all season, minus Lonzo Ball. The Bulls have made this a series, and I'm willing to argue that through these two games, they look like the better team because, let's be honest, the Bucks are playing down to their competition, and the Bulls almost stole the first game, and they stole the second game at home to the defending champions, a team no one expected to be here. I can't wait. I think this is going to be a series. I do think the Bulls are due to get blown out a game as the Bucks are going to be like, you know what? We're the champions. Let's go through it.
Put their foot down.
Yeah, but with Chris Middleton going down, we don't know what Bobby Portis' status will be because of his eye abrasion. This very well could be a very good series. I'm going to be in Chicago Friday for a watch party. And then on Sunday, I'm going to the game. And I'm so happy it's not going to be an elimination game.
No,
So
it won't.
we'll be at game 4. And we won't have to worry about the Bulls going home. So I'm happy about that. First
Yeah,
playoff game ever.
awesome. Yeah, what my kind of biggest takeaway that I've seen from the Bulls, excuse me, they're just playing with nothing to lose. Like they're playing, they're going in there loose, and they're almost like a mindset of like, you know what, no one expects us to win this game, no or series. No one is picking us to win this series. The defending champions, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo. We should lose this series, so we might as well give them our best shot, and that's what they've done so far through 2 games. They're surprising a lot of people. They've been competitive in both games. Grabbed game 2, seeing Chris Middleton go down with an injury. And I believe the latest we heard on Chris Middleton, he's expected to be out 3 to 4 weeks. So he's expected to definitely be out for the rest of this series. One thing that kind of concerns me moving forward for the Bulls is just looking at game 2, they had to rely so heavily on their starters. Game 2, Williams gave you 32 minutes, DeRozan 44, Vucevic 36, Caruso 38, and Levine 43. So there was not a lot of minutes off the bench. And that's what you guys needed to do in order to get that win. And you guys did it. But it just concerns me, you got 5 more games potentially in this series. Can you rely on those 5 bodies to carry those amount of minutes against this level of competition? I don't know. I think you're going to have some guys off the bench that are going to have to start to push that 20 minutes a game, kind of benchmark in order to give these guys a breather. Otherwise, you risk God forbid one of these guys gets hurt. Obviously, you don't hope for any injuries, but it's just kind of setting yourself up to just how long can these guys hold on. I still have the Bucks winning the series, even with Chris Middleton going down with the injury. But this was a huge wake-up call for the, with the team with defending, the defending champs with championship aspirations. They definitely, I agree with you. I didn't have that in my notes, but they're playing down to the Bulls. I thought this was going to be a cakewalk, and the Bulls have shown so far, hey, you're not just going to overlook us. You might be the better team, but you're not going to overlook us. And now they got 2 games in Chicago where, they're looking at it. Hey, if we split another one, it's a best of 3. Anything can happen. So this is definitely a real series now, especially with Chris Middleton being hurt, like you said, Bobby Portis. So I'm surprised that it is a series through 2 games. And I'm surprised that the Bulls have been competitive in both of those. So we'll see what happens in game 3. We'll see what happens in game 4 with you there cheering them on too.
Yeah, I got to agree with you, though, on those heavy minutes. I mean, we saw Levine and DeMar play the entire 4th quarter. Vooch, with 5 fouls, came back in with 10 and a half to go and somehow survived. I mean, Vooch is going to probably get in foul trouble often throughout this series because he's the only one with height, even though he's not a great defender. We just need his body. We need his size out there. So at the very least, this series is a great advertisement for Arturas Karnisovas and company to get us some bigger bodies for the upcoming 2023 season. It's a definite need, but I'm willing to upgrade this from a 5-game series. This could go 6, maybe even 7.
Yeah,
especially with the Bucks struggling with some injuries. As long as everything stays the way it is, I think it'll be Bucks and 6 though.
Yeah, we'll see how things play out. We'll move on here to our last series in the Eastern Conference, and that is Philadelphia 76ers against the Toronto Raptors. And this is the one series we have so far that is 3 games in. So 76ers are up 3-0. They won the first game 131-111. Game 2, 112-97, and game 3 in overtime 104-101. So Jarrett, how has this series played out and how do you feel about it so far?
How I feel about it is for ahead of game 4, we're going to see James Harden walk out through the tunnels with some vest or something fashioned out of like brooms because this series is about to be a sweep. The Raptors, they've been, despite their shortcomings, despite losing Scotty Barnes, they've been trying to keep the series competitive. I mean, they took the Sixers to overtime last night, but they don't have the star power to get it done. Joel Embiid is arguably a top 3 player in this league, whether you want to side with him or Jokic, or whether you want to throw LeBron in that top 3. I don't know what your top 3 is, but Embiid is on that short list for players that could be in that. And he proved it last night with hitting some big shots and big moments. Tyrese Maxey has looked like a viable second option. And I'm going to say second option because let's face it, James Harden, he's suited better as a playmaker, and he's just not the player he once was offensively. So I think it just makes more sense to have him be the playmaker and then just have the scoring just go through Embiid and Maxey. Because we saw Maxey in game one. He was fantastic. I mean, every time he touched the ball, the Philly crowd just wanted to see the guy do something. He's been one of those, like, there's been so many young players that have basically headlined these playoffs, and basically showing us that, yeah, this next generation is going to carry the torch for the NBA. And Maxey's part of that class. I think it's going to be a sweep in Toronto. I'm sorry, Toronto fans. You guys have overachieved, but this series is showing that you guys were overachievers, and it's time to be real about that.
I picked Raptors in 7, and I stood by that pick until 0.9 seconds left on the shot clock for the 76ers in overtime during Wednesday's game. And I think if the Raptors were able to hold on in that game, I think they would have definitely took game 4 in Toronto, and then it was anyone's series. So I was still holding on to my pick up until that. But now they're drawing dead. This series is over. You can't give up that 3 there in overtime to win it, especially for the other team to go up 3-0. You're not going to come back in game 4 and think that you're going to make it a series at all. That was your one chance. And I thought they looked good in game 3. As soon as Philadelphia started storming back, I was like, this will be all right. They're going to hold them off, kind of hold things together. Obviously weren't. The 76ers came back and tied it, sent it to overtime. And then that was just a bad overtime just on both sides. It was not a very entertaining overtime, but Joel Embiid hit that shot. Shout out to him. I didn't think 0.9 seconds was enough to get a jump shot up from the 3-point line, but he proved me wrong. Normally they say you got to have, at least like 1.2 seconds if you're going to like kind of take turn and take a jump shot. But hey, he got it off in time. They went in. Great for him. Embiid's been obviously the best player in the series, just despite Harden being so ineffective. Maxey's looked really good. You can make that argument. Like you said, he's their second best player. I'd say he's, especially in Toronto, he's definitely their second most valuable player on that team for them. Credit to them. I think it is going to be a sweep now. I think a lot of the times in a series, it's all about momentum. And I truly think if Toronto was able to hold on and get that win, hit one more big shot down the stretch, this could have been a completely different series. But now at this point, they're completely drawing dead. There's no coming back from that.
Yeah. I feel pretty validated by my first round prediction. I think I said 76ers in 6. I'm ashamed of that. I don't know. Like, I was thinking this during game 1. I'm like, I think I said 76ers in 6, but I should have said 76ers in 5. I don't know why I'm thinking that, but now I downgraded it to 76ers in 4, or should I say upgrade, I guess, in the 76ers case. I feel pretty validated. I feel like the smartest man in the building.
Yeah.
Because so many people across so many NBA media, podcasts, TV shows, whatever, said Raptors, and I didn't see it, so I feel validated.
We'll see. We'll see, but it's all right because second round matchup we'll be waiting for him will be Miami, and that'll be an absolute showdown. And
that'll be good.
No, it'll be a great series. Obviously, we know where I'd currently be leaning in that. But let's move on to the Western Conference. Start off there at the top. We got the Suns against the Pelicans. This one's a surprise to a lot of people. Game 1, the Suns took 110-99. Game 2, the Pelicans came back, though, 125-114 with Devin Booker going down with his injury. And I believe just a little bit before we started recording here, news came out Devin Booker is expected to be out 2 to 3 weeks because of his injury. So, Jared, how are you feeling about this series?
I still feel pretty confident about the series. Obviously, a lot of people probably thought this would be a guaranteed sweep. But then the Pelicans proved us wrong. Even if Devin Booker didn't go out, there was still potential. The Pelicans could have won that game, even with Booker continuing to play, just how the game was going. Now Booker is out potentially 2 to 3 weeks with a hamstring injury. It's not going to be an easy stretch. But I think the Suns can still close the series out. We've seen all season them fight through adversity and come out with a record-breaking season regardless. Chris Paul was out for over a month, and they held it down. And now we see the other side of the coin where Devin Booker is going to be out for half a month. And I expect CP3 and the Suns to rally. I expect them to rally around Booker being gone, next man up mentality. I expect them to focus more on Brandon Ingram's offense and limiting him. They have Michael Bridges, one of the best defensive players in the game, to match up with him, I'm not worried about the Suns at all. I think they're going to go into New Orleans and sweep New Orleans home series and then go back to Phoenix and win game 5 for the gentleman's sweep. I'm not too worried. What does worry me, though, is if this injury with Booker's hamstring lingers into the next series, then we're going to start having some different conversations. And my $50 bet for the Suns to win the West, well, not looking as great now as it did when I placed it.
Yeah. And we know who could potentially be looming there in round 2 would be a healthy Luka Doncic if he comes back. But we'll get to that in a little bit. I know the Pelicans, just took game 2 and that injury to Devin Booker and kind of everything that's going on around that. I still don't think the Suns are in any danger of dropping this series. I agree with you. I originally picked the Suns to get it done in 5. You very adamantly, I think your prediction was just Suns in 4. So, but obviously no one saw this injury coming with Devin Booker. They're just too well-rounded of a team. They're well coached. They make adjustments, and in close games down the stretch, they'll still have the point guard. So Ingram is not going to score 37 points a game. And, I think it's going to be a big difference when you go into a game and you can kind of plan on your star player not being there, as in Devin Booker, rather than losing him in the middle of one, especially in the first half of that game. What did he score? 31 points or something like that?
He was on pace for an amazing game.
Yeah, I think it makes a big difference, especially for a team that's well coached. Shout out to Monty Williams, like the Suns, where they can go into a game. Listen, we don't have Devin Booker, but we can game plan around that. We can get scoring elsewhere. We need some other guys to step up and adjust the minutes. I think it's a harder thing to do when you lose someone in the middle of the game, have to make that adjustment and try to hold off a team that sees the kind of, smelling blood in the water where they can kind of just go out and attack like the Pelicans did in game 2. So I think the Suns still take this one. I think, they probably get it done in 5. It wouldn't surprise me, though, if Pelicans take another one at home. They get it done in 6 as well. But I don't think they're in any real danger of actually dropping the series. And you can make the argument you could buy a couple extra days. You lose a game, have to, a couple more off days, have to play game 6. It might be better for Devin Booker and you got in yourself in the long run to give them some extra days of rest. So I think the Suns still take this. And Devin Booker is a little bit concerning. And I think the biggest key for him is you just want him to get healthy as soon as possible and not have to force him back for anything that's, you'd like to see him come back hopefully in the middle of that next series, if at all possible. So that's kind of where the Suns sit, but I think they're a good enough team that they can work around missing a guy like Devin Booker for a shorter period of time again here in the first round, at least. So moving on to our second series in the West, this one has been entertaining so far. We got the Memphis Grizzlies, the Minnesota Timberwolves. So game 1, the Timberwolves came out, really shocked Memphis, 130 to 117. But in game 2, Grizzlies responded to the 124-96 win. So from looking at this series, what's your take on how this has played out so far?
Well, I was feeling pretty good about the series after the first game. I'm like, oh man, this is exactly why I thought the series was going to go to 6. It's chippy, it's tough. The Timberwolves looked really good. Cat looked great after coming off an abysmal performance in the play-in game. I was so excited. And then reality started to set in game 2. I couldn't even watch it because I was watching other games and it was on NBA TV. So that was a tough workaround. But I was following along, and from what I could tell, it looks like the Grizzlies figured it out. They didn't seem to rely too heavily on any of their stars. It was a team effort, and the Timberwolves are just outmatched. Cat had another tough game. So, and I'm not too surprised. It looks like we're not out of the woods with, is Cat ready for moments like this? Because he's shown consistently that he's not. And someone, I forgot who to give the credit to, clapped it back at everyone after game 1. Was like, everyone that said Cat had a tough game or Cat's not a great player, blah, 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 whatever, looks really stupid now. Well, I had to respond because I'm in that camp. Don't insult me like that. I know what I'm talking about. So I said, well, Cat's consistently proved us wrong. Look what happened game 2. He proved us right again.
No.
So the Timberwolves, if they have a chance in this series, they're going to need more from Cat because they can't get blown out like that. As for the Grizzlies, things are looking good. I do think when it goes back to Minnesota, they will split those games though. I'm still thinking that's going to be Timberwolves in 6, though. I'm
Timberwolves?
sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Grizzlies in 6.
Okay. Ooh,
I stand by my original
got you.
statement before the
Got you.
first round. Timberwolves,
Got you.
Grizzlies in 6. Jeez, keep doing it.
I don't normally do this. I'm not one of those guys, but I think losing game one for this particular team was an okay thing for Memphis to do because I think it woke them up. And and the response was a 28-point drumming in game two. Memphis is young. They need a little taste of humble pie. They came out. They're the second best team as far as record goes in the regular season. Came out feeling really good about themselves, and they got punched in the mouth, and that's okay. Timberwolves came in hungry. They just went through the play-in tournament. They won their championship, as we saw jumping on the scoring tables. So that's great. Followed it up with a great performance in game one. But then, they dominated game two, the Grizzlies did, without one guy going nuts. And I think that's a huge part. This wasn't a big Ja Morant game. This wasn't a big Desmond Bane game. This wasn't a big Jaren Jackson game. It was a team effort. And let's be honest, they're just a better team. They're more well-rounded. Their coaching, I give them the edge as well. I think the Timberwolves are starting to look spent. I agree with you. I don't know if Karl Anthony Towns can kind of muster up what is going to be needed from him to get them in deeper into this series. I think the Grizzlies are going to come out and they're going to go hard in game three. They're going to take that game, and this could very possibly be a 5-game, a gentleman's sweep. I could see it in 6 as well. I just don't think the Timberwolves are going to have what they need to win 3 out of 5 down the stretch now as this is a shortened series. So I'm still sticking with my Grizzlies. I think I said Grizzlies in is 5 or 6. I can't remember exactly which one I said.
I think you said 5.
I might have.
I feel like I was on the more like
Yeah.
It's going to be more of a series.
Yeah, I did not. I remember saying I don't give the Timberwolves that much credit because they just won their championship. So, no, it's been an entertaining 2 games so far. Both of them have been blowouts. I'm interested to see what happens in a close game between these two because we haven't had a chance to really see that yet, how things play out down the stretch. I think I think Memphis has the upper hand in those situations, but we'll see. We'll see how things play out, and we'll see who gets through that series, and hopefully everybody stays healthy for it. So moving on now to our third series in the Western Conference. That is the Golden State Warriors and the Denver Nuggets. So this one hasn't been close so far. The Warriors won game one at 123-107, and they won game two as well, 126-106. So, Jarrett, what's been your takeaway from this Warriors-Nuggets series?
I'm annoyed. You know why I'm annoyed? Do you want to know why?
What's that?
I am really enjoying watching the Golden State Warriors. And I'm annoyed by that. I'm feeling like how I felt when I was watching them in 2015. It was this exciting team where like you knew where they're good, but you don't know what their ceiling is. They're not like they didn't feel like the favorites en route to the finals. And I'm watching this and I'm like, this team's really good. Jordan Poole has been amazing every game. And like I said, he's in that group with Tyrese Maxey, like these young players. Like he's 22 years old and he's looking like, oh my God, this guy could be an all-star next season. Andrew Wiggins was the all-star starter. Really? Like Jordan Poole's miles above him. Are you kidding me? Jordan Poole and I don't know how you don't start him going forward. I think they're going to have to go with that small ball lineup where it's
start him at the 3 or start Clay at the 3.
Yeah. Start Clay at the 3, Curry at the 1, Poole at the 2. And then you have Draymond and Wiggins. I think that's how you're going to have to start these games.
Smallest power forward in the league, Andrew Wiggins.
No, they're smaller one. What, Wiggins is 6'6", right?
Yeah, and your center's 6'7" and Draymond Green.
Nah, I think that's generous. I think Draymond's 6'6" too. As a Bulls fan, I can tell you we have much smaller power forwards. At one point, not to get too off topic, but at one point last night, our tallest player on the floor was 6'5", and that was Derrick Jones Jr. And Giannis was on the floor.
There you go.
And I'm like, what are we doing?
Good luck.
Anyway, back to the Warriors. This team, they're just lighting it up. Curry had a subpar game one coming off the bench, and it didn't matter because it was Jordan Poole's night. Klay Thompson was hot early and it was looking good. Go to game two. And then it's both Curry and Poole just trading buckets. Like I feel so sorry for Denver because what do you do when you have 2 Steph Currys essentially going at you? And shout out to Stephen Curry. I don't know how many superstar athletes would willingly and voluntarily come off the bench because it's going to give their team a better leg up potentially in a series. Which I don't expect him to continue coming off the bench going forward. I think the game plan is going to change just to close out the series.
It's just because he's on a minute restriction and they don't want him to play too heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, but this Warriors team is fun. The games haven't been close, but these have been some of the more entertaining games for me to watch just because I love the basketball that I'm watching. And it's just weird for me to admit that. I'm upgrading this series from Warriors in 5 to a Warriors sweep. Jokic, you see it in him. He's frustrated. He's tired. He doesn't have it. That blue jersey is a darker shade of blue than the rest of his teammates midway through the game because that man is overworking himself. DeMarcus Cousins is ready to tear apart the team at the seams with the chemistry. It's Warriors in 4. It's Warriors in 4 now.
First off, I just got to say, I wish I could give credit to who said this because I saw it somewhere, but how did the NBA let the Warriors get a third Splash Brother and his last name is literally Poole?
It should be illegal.
Everybody just missed that, man. But Jordan Poole, 30 points, 29 points in the 2 games. Curry coming off the bench. Draymond has locked up Nikola Jokic, and the Warriors might very well sweep as well. I love how a lot of your kind of breakdown was on the Warriors side because a lot of my breakdown is on the Denver Nuggets side, and I'm sure you could understand as of why. I thought coming into this series that Jokic was going to be a size problem against the Warriors. I didn't think Draymond had the size to hang with him. Me, the one who thinks Jokic is severely overrated in this NBA and does not deserve to be back-to-back MVPs, which he will be announced as back-to-back MVPs here coming soon. He's been bad. And I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. Everybody's going to be, but he got 26 points. He's been inefficient. He's been turning the ball over. He has not been good. You can make an argument he's the 3rd or 4th best player in this series so far through 2 games between both of those teams. You know what? He has not shown up. I think he might have missed the flight to San Francisco. He even got so frustrated in game 2 that he got himself booted. It's been bad. I expect the Warriors to win it all, and I think they will. To win this series, not win it all. And I think they will, but this is just a bad showing for Jokic. I expect the man who many people are saying has, the advanced metrics are saying that he's one of the best players ever to come out and play like it. He's broken. And credit to Draymond Green because he has gotten completely under his skin. I'm not going to give Jokic a pass because I think once you win an MVP, especially once you win back-to-back MVPs, we got to hold you accountable. Because can you imagine any other guys that have won back-to-back MVPs putting up a showing like this so far and look like they're going to be swept out? The media would destroy them. Absolutely destroy them. I think Jokic, maybe to his credit, maybe to his own fault, I think we have to hold him to that standard because that's what the NBA media is out there saying. This guy's been the best player in basketball for the last 2 seasons. That's what the MVP award is supposed to be about. I don't agree with it, but, hey, he's about to get swept out in round 1, and he's looked really bad while doing it.
And I think going along with that, Jokic's struggles highlights how important Draymond Green is to this team on both sides of the ball. I mean, he's setting up Jordan Poole, putting him in great positions, setting up Curry. I mean, that's kind of what has made him and Curry one of the best guard forward duos in the league for like the last almost decade. Draymond is the most important player in this series, and that's my belief. He's the most important player for this Warriors team. And he's just showing why, we missed the playoffs the last 2 or 3 seasons, but that doesn't mean I got bad. No, I've always been here. We just need to get the band back together. And that's all it took. Oh man, I'm so excited to see when the Warriors play against a team that's more up to their level. Can we please get a Suns Warriors Western Conference Finals? Is that how that would track?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, they could. Wait. No, yeah. In round 2, they would play the 2 seed. It'd be either the Timberwolves or the Memphis. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good.
They definitely could.
Yeah. I forget that the Jazz Mavs winner would.
Just like we could get a Miami and Boston conference finals as well. The 1 and 2 seed.
The next round for the East, any matchup's going to be like, oh my God, we get this matchup. Whatever happens.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to either be Miami and Boston or Miami and Brooklyn if Brooklyn is able to come back. But
Yeah, I'm so sorry, but I'm way more interested in a Brooklyn Philly matchup at some point, which would
We
require
can't.
your Heat
Yeah.
having to bow down.
Oh, we can't see that. We can't see that because then it'd be Atlanta versus the 76ers. Heat are
No,
going to play the 76ers. Wait. Yeah, Heat are going to play the 76ers next round.
then that means your Heat are gonna have to bow out, man. I'm sorry.
No, it's not happening.
I need to see the Sixers Brooklyn series with Ben
No,
Simmons back. I
I'm
need
not.
it.
I'm not scared of Philly. I'm not scared of Philly. We got our last matchup here in the Western Conference. That is one a lot of people are forgetting about, but it's been a good series so far. How about the Dallas Mavericks? It's the Utah Jazz. Jazz came out in game one, 193-97. Game two, Mavericks came back with a 110-104 victory. Jalen Brunson went nuts in that game with 41 points. So, Jarrett, how have you seen this series playing out so far?
This series has confuddled me.
Okay.
On paper, without Luca, this Mavericks team has no business being in this series, especially in theory to a Jazz nucleus that's been together for a decent amount of seasons.
Yeah.
Well, as we've been increasingly aware the past couple of weeks, this Jazz nucleus, it's fallen apart at a molecular level. I mean, it's no secret about since around the pandemic, Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell have not been the best of friends, not even the best of teammates. We're starting to see one freeze out the other on offensive possessions, whether it's for better or for worse. And if Luka Doncic comes back, which good chance he comes back for game 3,
which is tonight too. So by the time everybody hears it, we'll know our answer, but we'll see.
I think once Luka's back in the lineup, this series is over. Dribble penetration is killing the Jazz. I mean, we saw Jalen Brunson pick them apart.
Oh, yeah.
Dropped a career high, what was it, 40?
41.
41, just like
41.
DeRozan. A lot of career highs at 41 in this playoff so far. Jalen Brunson's going to get a bag. Good for him.
Oh, yeah.
Local guy.
Oh, yeah.
So awesome. Love to see that. But yeah, Luka comes. This series is over. This iteration of the Utah Jazz is over. Donovan Mitchell's career in Utah over. Maybe both Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell will be in different places at the start of next season. It might send Quinn Snyder in a spiral that will make him, for whatever reason, take the Lakers job.
No, he's not taking
self-respecting.
the Lakers job.
I know.
Not taking the Lakers
I'm
job.
obviously I'm kind of embellishing a little bit.
God.
But it's not going to be a good end. I was saying originally it was going to be Jazz in 5 because I'm like, first 2 games, no Luka. That's easy 2-0. Very easy 2-0. But now it's 1-1. And one of the best players in basketball, the best player in this series, is about to enter the game.
Yeah.
And where the Mavs have either been in it and lost or controlled the game down the stretch without Luka, I see with Luka in, no question in my mind, this Jazz team, they don't have a shot. It's going to be I'm upgrading, well, for the Jazz, downgrading this series to Mavericks in 6.
Yeah, I told you back when I made this pick, I picked Mavericks in 7. It might be Mavericks in 6 because of Jalen Brunson. The Jazz missed their shot, man. They needed to grab game 2 with Luka just kind of looming in the background, waiting to see when he'd come back. We don't know if he'll be back for game 3. I obviously hope he'll be back for game 3 here tonight. But by the time you guys hear this, obviously you already know, but the Jazz have missed out. Jalen Brunson saved the season with 41 points in game 2. Now, even if Luka has to miss game 3, at the very least, he's coming back down 2-1 in a series. It's definitely something that he's capable of overcoming. I'm sticking with my Mavericks pick all the way. I might even go to the 6 games instead of the 7, like I said originally. I think Luka comes back. Like you said, the dribble penetration, they could not stay in front of Jalen Brunson. What makes them think that they're going to be able to stay in front of Luka Doncic? He comes back, he lights it up, and he shows the NBA that he's more than ready to be that next man up, to be the face of this league. Because I think this is the postseason. We see the ascension of Luka Doncic. I really do. I think he comes back. I think he takes this series. And now, I hinted at it earlier, with Devin Booker injured, if they're able to get a couple games against the Suns with Devin Booker injured, definitely helps with the kind of upset alert. I'm not picking it at all. Obviously, there's a long way to go before we even see if we're going to get that matchup.
I'm not putting my name on that.
I'm just saying it's definitely a possibility. I think Luka Doncic is a lot of people say he's one of the best players in the league, but I think he's one of the 2 to 3 best players in the league that we see right now. He's physically unstoppable. No one has been able to stop him, especially in the postseason. When every postseason game he's ever played, he's been guarded by either Kawhi Leonard or Paul George, and he's still dropping 40 points in all of them. So I think we're about to see an absolute ascension of Luka Doncic as soon as he comes back. And I am so excited to see it because he's one of my favorite players in the league as of right now. So that's what we got for all these series breakdowns. And it's been fun playoffs so far. We're just getting started, obviously not even halfway through the first round. See how things shake out. But here on the Tee 'em Up podcast, we like to end all of our podcasts with our favorite segment. And that's, of course, Tee 'em Up. So Jarrett, who gets your technical foul this week?
The NBA gets my technical foul.
The NBA, okay.
Now, I will say the NBA has put on a great playoffs. It's actually been the highest rated and viewed playoffs in I forgot what, but it's been a while. I think it was the highest of the decade. And that's even without LeBron James. So shout out to the NBA for that. When LeBron retires, the NBA is in good hands. And I can't remember the last time I watched this much basketball. I literally spent all weekend on my couch. But while on my couch this weekend, I saw something. The Defensive Player of the Year trophy is now a little crystal ball. What the hell?
Oh, boy.
You go from the awesome looking statuesque player in defensive form and then the giant wooden base with a plaque on the front. That's a dope trophy. That'd be something anyone would be proud to just display in the display case. You have your guests come over to your $50 million mansion and be like, Rudy, what's that? You got 2 of those up there. What is that thing? Oh, that's my Defensive Player of the Year trophy. You go to Marcus Smart's $50 million mansion. You walk in, you don't even notice the thing. It looks like everything else on the shelf because it's a tiny little glass ball that you can easily chuck in your carry-on luggage. What is the NBA doing? Those trophies are like works of art. Why change it now? The significance of something like a Defensive Player of the Year award, especially with a guard winning it for the first time since Gary Payton in 1996.
Yeah.
And you diminish it to a tiny little crystal ball. Now I'm terrified. What does the MVP trophy look like? Because they're kind of in the same style. You're going to change the MVP trophy too? Is it going to be a slightly bigger little glass ball? What are we talking about here? I'm just tee up the NBA. Just don't stop changing stuff. No midseason tournament, jersey ads, all of it. I want it all gone. Turn back the clock, please. We got rid of the sleeves. You can give us back the old trophies too. Tee up the NBA.
Oh, wow. I'm teeing up Kyrie Irving. And, bro, have we not seen enough headlines about Kyrie Irving this year that you have to go out there and you got to give the double bird to the Celtics fans? And I want to make this very clear when it comes to my opinion about Kyrie Irving. I do not have a problem with players appropriately responding to fans yelling and name calling. I'm not even saying that I have a problem with the double bird. I think that's okay. I think we're all adults. That happens. Where my problem lies is that Kyrie repeatedly asks for and sets himself up for fan hate and the jeers that he gets. And then after every game, he goes to the podium and plays that victim card. Oh, that man, it's been years. Can't we all just move on? Can't we all just grow up? I know I stomped on your mascot, your leprechaun, but can we just be adults about this? Can't we just grow up and move forward as a collective unit while I'm flipping you off behind my head? I can't deal with the victim playing that Kyrie Irving does on a night in and night out basis. Look, Kyrie, whatever you believe, whatever you want your message to be, you lose it when you go out there, act the way you do, and then play the victim card. I don't get it. If you want to be the villain, be the villain. That's fine. The NBA has had a bunch of villains, a bunch of people embracing it, but own it. go out there and say, listen, I don't like them. They don't like me. And my job is to make them sad, to make them go home sad. That's fine. I have zero problem with it. I even have zero problem with the physical action. Just own up to it and move forward. I'm sick of this victim playing for Kyrie Irving. Dude, just technical foul. I've had enough of it. And I'm so sick and tired of these press conferences where I'm supposed to feel bad for Kyrie Irving. No, thank you. I am not buying stock in that. No, sorry. Not doing it. Nope.
Yeah. Kyrie's reaching out to the wrong fan base to sit around the campfire with and sing Kumbaya.
So sick of it.
Yeah, no, that relationship ain't getting past.
I'm not even upset with the flipping the bird. I'm not. That's fine.
No, I definitely get where you're coming from.
Like, that's fine. That's cool. I get it. And I'm not defending Boston fans because I get the history of Boston fans. And yeah, there's probably some awful things. I guarantee there are some awful things being said to Kyrie Irving. I am just sick of the after action where I'm supposed to feel bad for the decisions that he consistently makes on his own.
Both sides, to some extent, are justified for how they feel towards each other.
Yeah. So what you should do, just own it and move on. Like, just own it. Don't keep bringing it back up and say, oh, poor boo me. Just own it. You hate Boston. They hate you. That's fine. Trae Young in New York has gotten the message. As much as you hate Trae Young, he embraces the boos when he goes and plays in New York.
Dude, he embraces that everywhere. You saw how he went out in Cleveland, too. Just Cleveland hates him, too, now.
Just own it. That's all I'm asking for Kyrie. Just own it. Just own it, man. That's all we have this week for the Team Up podcast. I want to thank you guys all for joining us. Be sure to follow along on all of our social media platforms throughout the week for some more fun NBA content. So I want to thank you guys all for listening. We'll be sure to catch you guys later.